Greetings, everybody, and this week's review will be The Untouchables, starring Kevin Costner, Sean Connery, Charles Martin Smith, Andy Garcia, Patricia Clarkson, and of course, Robert De Niro as Al Capone. Now, to start off, I'm going to say it was definitely fitting that the director of Scarface directed this. I mean, because Brian De Palma, I was like, forget Scorsese. Brian De Palma did some of the best gangster movies. Especially this masterpiece. I mean, when you got an ensemble cast with Connery, which of course this film was his only Oscar, as Jimmy Malone, De Niro, who was almost the ultimate go-to guy when it comes to being for movie gangsters, and Kevin Costner in one of his breakout roles. I'd say Costner always did a good job of portraying various historical figures, especially Ness, which is who he was in Untouchables, of course. Wyatt Earp, Jim Garrison, Devil Anse Hanfield, and some kind of brain farting on 13 days. I'll save that for review on that. But overall, Costner is an excellent actor, and this is especially in the 80s and 90s with films like this. And of course, Billy Drago as Frank Nitti. Like I say, in the movie, that kind of movie's version is a lot different than the real Nitti. For one, movie Nitti was a straight up cold blooded killer, while the real Nitti was more like Capone's right hand, and really the brains of that operation back in its day. And of course, we've got to give a nod to Charles Martin Smith and his performance of it, because for one of his most well-known films, besides being Toad in American Graffiti, and of course with Connery, who officially proved to the world he was much more than James Bond. And of course, Andy Garcia in pretty much his best known film. And very excellent portrayal of Giuseppe Petri, aka George Stone. And with, of course, with Connery as Malone. Talk about epic pairings of where Jim Malone was to Elliot Ness, to Ramirez and Highlander, also played by Connery, was to Connor McLeod, also of Highlander. Of course, watch my video on Highlander for more on that. And I gotta say, Untouchables, when it comes to Prohibition films, this is one of the top films and a must recommend, and definitely one that definitely does not deserve to be remade. Is that perfect? And of course, speaking of Patricia Clarkson, this was also her first movie, where she played Mrs. Ness. And back to the old Drago as Frank Nitti, and I gotta say, Billy Drago played an excellent villain. Not only in this, but Delta Force 2, that's for another review, and the Bruce Campbell series, Briscoe County Jr. as John Bly. But but the show stealer would have had to be Steelers was Connery as Malone, and of course De Niro as Capone. And it's even fitting how in the beginning of the movie where it shows Capone getting a shave and all, getting tended to and all, and he's interviewing reporters and has that excellent quote, which is actually a quote by the real Capone of, "You get further with just a kind word in the gun, with just a kind word alone." And I gotta say, the best portrayal of Al Capone in any film adaptation ever so far. But but excellent nonetheless. And of course, with the old shootouts and particularly how bad evil Nitty was in that movie. It's just, I mean, just anybody just starts out in the movie and has when you just kind of unlike Tony Montana's Scarface, Frank Nitti didn't care if it was a kid when it was, if you at the beginning of the movie when he blew up that guy's store because he wouldn't sell Capone's bootleg beer. And of course, the ultimate scene with the Mountie team up on that bridge in the Canadian border and all, and that showdown. And talk about one of the most messed up scenes in that was the old Costner was when Ness shot that guy and he's gone. And I mean, dude was literally trying to arrest a dead body. I mean, he's like shoots the guy and he goes, "You're under arrest. Did you not hear what I said? What are you, deaf?" Man, I'm about one of the most ones I can actually consider a form of black humor when it comes to crime dramas. And especially with also other shootouts like at the beginning of the movie where, well, of course I already mentioned that with that general store being blown up. And then of course he got the bridge shootout, then the scene where Nitty kills Oscar Wallace and the informant that they arrested from the bridge of the Mountie, and how the Mountie just, Chief Mountie was always whined about how disgusted by the tactics of Malone and Ness. And I'm gonna say the train yard shootout might get most praised among great shootouts, but don't get me wrong, that was an excellent shootout, but the bridge ambush kind of takes the cake on this film. Especially, and also along with the final showdown between Ness and Nitty, of course, with ending with Ness throwing Nitty off that bridge. Of course, to throw him off the trail instead of just shooting him in cold blood after you think he's going to be brought in alive, which is kind of a fitting death, given how. And it's a lot more fitting than how the real Nitty got it, which the real Nitty just for those that know, don't know, the real Nitty capped himself in 43, while movie Nitty was 19, which the movie takes place between 30 and 31, 1930s. And of course, I just mentioned the train yard shootout where he just shoots one gangster with just one hand with that shotgun and just, and of course Stone and Ness just break out in pistols with one sailor getting caught in the crossfire, and of course all them bullets and Luckily, one didn't hit that baby. But only just Capone thugs. When Ness was trying to get the warrant on that, on his accountant, or should I say consigliere. And he sung like a canary in that courtroom. And then, of course, with the death scene of Malone's character, Malone. I mean, just line of where he goes, bringing a knife to a gunfight, and then of course the guy was just only to bait Malone, just so that Nita could plug a full drum into him, which of course Tommy guns had drum rounds, not instead of just standard magazines, vertical mags that, of course. And overall, this movie definitely gets a 5 out of 5. I mean, it's a must-watch for not just fans of gangster movies, but movies in general. And, of course, not just for history buffs, given how not only was it based on real people, but it was also based off a TV series from the 1950s by the same name, where Robert Stack, best known for Unsolved Mysteries, was known as the original Nest, which, although in reality the real Nest wasn't as praised as in his in the real Prohibition Depression era, as he was posthumously with the series, and then a book, then a series, then this here movie I'm reviewing. And of course, I just gotta say, a flawless film. Definitely flawless. A 5 out of 5. Give my channel a like, subscribe, enjoy, people.